introduction about the speaker here. As I mentioned, she is a writer herself. She has written a novel, Grow Up Moon, which was published by Snap Publishers in 2012. She has been also working as a sub-editor for a Lord Taylor magazine since 2003, of which she is now the editor since 2011. She also writes her blog. I will request her to kindly introduce about her blog. Also, you can follow her on her blog on writing skills. And she is presently founding director and partner of the Learning Curve Academy, which is situated very close to Chandigarh in a place called Naya Gaon, just hardly about 7 kilometers from here or 8 kilometers from here. The academy is dedicated totally on developing the soft skills and especially on communication skills. One of her endeavors is to develop the communication skills in English, I would say, among the students which are close by to her academy. Many of them, they are underprivileged children also. When we talk about developing the communication skills in a particular language, when you start thinking in that language, usually being Indians, we are used to thinking in our own mother tongues. For example, I think in Punjabi, and when I speak out or when I write, I quickly translate it and then speak it or write it in English. But when you start thinking in English language itself, then you actually master the language. One of her endeavors is to develop the skills in the students whereby they start thinking in English also. That's really a very big contribution, I would say, from her side towards developing the communication skills among the students. And she has coached corporate clients in effective and correct uses of English in official communication through the internet also. And she has offered capsule of grammar and creative writing to students in Canada over the Skype. She is a regular visiting faculty to our institute and many prestigious institutions like NIIFT Mohali, Punjab University, Thapar University, and many other institutions which are having a lot of reputation in this part of the country especially. She is giving them lectures on writing skills, personality development, and soft skills. A word about her education background. She has done her postgraduate diploma in the International Business Operations, that is PGDIBO, from IGNOU in 2011. She did her graduation in the Economics Honours from Punjab University. And let me mention here that throughout her studies as a school student, college student, and university student, she has been a very, I would say, outstanding student, both academically as well as other co-curricular activities also. She is a NCC cadet holding a A-level certificate. She was also school head girl in 12th standard, and she has been contributing to the school and college magazines in her student life also. She has been contributing articles. Writing has been her passion, and it is still her passion also. And I understand she has already written her second novel, which is under publication. Very soon you will find them in the book racks, in the bookshops. And one of her passions is to spend time in the bookshops and libraries to just update herself. She is a very, very good reader, I would say. Every good writer has to be a good reader also. Every good speaker has to be a good listener also. So she is spending a lot of time in the libraries and in the bookshops. And without going any further, I will now request Madam Suditi Jindal to kindly engage the session on writing skills. Over to Madam.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, sir, for such a comprehensive and detailed and kind introduction. I hope I'm audible to everybody in the centers as well. And let's start off today's session wherein we discuss writing skills. And in today's day and age, wherein technology has taken over our lives and face or personal interaction, face-to-face interaction is limited, more of the interaction is done through the written word, which is either typed or which is typed on an electronic screen or on a paper. So for that purpose, we need to have very well developed writing skills. and we need to also have a good grasp over the language. So today I'm going to just give a brief overview of few methods and techniques as to how we can improve our English, proficiency in English, and how to use English in various tools and methods. Alright, so let's begin today's session. I hope everybody can refer to the slide that I have put up here. Here I have just given in a very layman's term what are writing skills. There is no technical definition, just 3 or 4 points that I've brought out for your reference. The first thing that you can see on the slide is that writing skills are an integral part of communication skills. I feel that more than the spoken word, the written word carries more authority, carries more permanence. Because whatever has been written once is in access of many people. Even it transcends time and space. So that is why writing skills occupy a lot of importance in communication. Next thing, they aid in transfer of information. Being a writer myself, I know that I can reach out to many people who don't know me, who have no idea about my existence or about the person I am, but I can reach out to them through this transfer of information through my written word. And I can even reach out to those people who might not even live in the same time as I am living. So that permanence, that aid in transfer of information is brought about by the written word, not so much by the spoken word. Though we have aids these days to record the spoken word that I am doing right now with you, exchanging views with you in a session. This is being recorded, which can be used later on. But then the written word always carries more weight and is able to sustain for a longer period of time. Next thing is it is used for recording of information. Not only transferring of information, but record of information with myself, with somebody else, so that it can be used as a point of reference. Point of reference in official purposes, in legal purposes. Like textbooks. Being teachers, being lecturers, we all refer to that record of information, that study done by somebody else. So that is why it is very important to have a very strong hold over writing skills when we want to be efficient communicators. Alright, let's move further. What is the importance? Now these importance or benefits flow, significance flows from the same definition as to the points that are brought about wherein I outlined what are writing skills. The first is effective tool of communication. The possibility of misunderstanding is very low. The probability, the chances are very low in the written word. When I have written down something, there is a very low possibility that it will be misunderstood because it is there. It is read the same way it is written. The punctuation marks, if they are in order, then the expression is also conveyed. The pauses are also conveyed. We are going to take up an exercise later during the session wherein the slight change in a pause, a word before and a word after, differentiates or entirely changes the meaning of the sentence. So that if punctuation is followed, the expression is also conveyed. And otherwise, if articulate words are used, then the effective tool of communication is brought about by the written word. Next is reaching a larger audience. Reaching a larger audience can be explained when, it is not only today that we have so many media and tools to help us to reach out. I can cite here the example of Karl Marx. His theory of Marxism, which influenced two biggest nations, two biggest nations of the world, USSR and China, so much so that they followed that communist, system of governing their society, their country. But Karl Marx did not travel outside his country. How did he reach? Only through his essays, the printed word. And he has been able to influence us even today, even after centuries of his birth, of his, giving out his, formulating his essays on the economic theory, he is still able to influence us. So that is how we are able to reach a larger audience through the written word. So it becomes, as teachers, as lecturers, it becomes even more important for you that whatever you write or maybe give out as written notes or instruction material, which also will be accompanied with these sessions. So you have to be very careful. Everybody, all of us have to be very careful as to what we are writing. Is there any other meaning or connotation to it? If in a language some word takes up different meaning, or if in a region of that country one word is assigned some other meaning, then I should not use it because discrepancy might creep in. So that is how important written word is, because it is going to reach out to many people, not only to the people who are sitting in front of you, with whom you are conversing or communicating. That is why developing a proficiency in English is very important. Next is, it is a tool of influencing others. How was Hitler able to propagate hatred for Nazis? He was able to do that through his pamphlets. The pamphlets which randomly were thrown down by helicopters operating under Hitler's regime in his army, and they just unleashed that hate propaganda so much so it led to the Second World War. That is how the power, the strength of the written word is. That is how we are moved by a beautiful piece of poetry. These are just words written in a specific sequence that they are able to strike a chord within ourselves, and we are able to relate to it, and we are moved by it, and we are able to influence others. If we are able to influence others in a positive manner, if we are able to influence others the way we want to influence them, then of course we become a very powerful person. We become a very influential person. And from this flows the next point, that we are on the ladder to success. Because we are able to manage resources, including people and their emotions, to our advantage by virtue of writing well. So this has to be brought up to the students as well, that why do they need to write well. And one more thing that needs to be brought up in today's time is, I see this trend especially in India, wherein we are corrupting two languages. I'm just taking an example of two languages, but it can be corrupting many languages at the same time, wherein we are using English to write words or sentences in Hindi or maybe some other language. So here we have dissipated the rules of both the languages, but that does not, it may bring about an ease in communication, but that does not bring about the formality or official connotation that is required in official communication. That is why we find somewhat a hesitation, a nervousness, and anxiety when we have to write down an official communication like an email or a letter, because we've become so used to polluting our language and use. So this is my intention with this session, that we are able to overcome this kind of hesitation in ourselves and set right wherever we have gone wrong. Okay, let's move further. Okay, so last point here is the mark of a well-developed personality. Obviously, even before a person enters a room, even before a person travels, the reputation of that person travels, and that reputation is conveyed by the whole package. And before the spoken word can reach, the written word reaches. At the time of campus placement enhancement, before the company can turn up for interviewing the candidate, the written word of the candidate, that is the resume, has already reached them. That communication has already reached them. So there's an image about the candidate already in the minds of the company. So that is, this example you can give out to your students to emphasize upon the importance of very strong writing skills. And this is true for everybody. For example, many of us would be submitting our thesis, doctoral theses. Even before we have a viva voice for our thesis, the thesis is already there in the printed form, the type form, with our guides, with our reviewers. They are able to gauge, they form a measurement of our knowledge, capabilities, and aptitude through the typed word, the written word that is already with them. So our reputation has already traveled even before we have reached that destination. So that is why it is good writing skills are a mark of a well-developed personality. It is not enough to be able to converse well, to be able to speak well. We also need to be able to write well. Let's move further. What are the tips for effective writing skills? And these are normal tips. This is not something that I'm going to tell you which is difficult to follow. It is easy to follow for us. It is easy to follow for our students also. The first thing is knowledge of grammar. Now, grammar is the tool through which we learn or use a language. It is like an instruction manual for a language. So I need to know everything. And fortunately, India's education system is very good till class 12. So these rules and regulations are really reinforced. But somehow I feel that more stress is laid upon learning the rules rather than applying them. So what we need to do is, after having learned those rules so well, we need to apply them through daily practice sessions. We need to be very careful with it. And now through technology, Google, we are in access of so many puzzles, so many easy worksheets, wherein within 5 minutes, when I'm waiting in the queue for depositing my check, or just depositing a bill or something, or waiting in the queue for a bus or anything, I can quickly, with the help of my mobile, access a website like BBC Skills Wise, which has very good worksheets in all the 4 skills of the language for those English is a second language. So we can access and do those puzzle kind of activities. It is a refresher for the brain, as well as it increases our proficiency in English. So we need to do that, and we need to encourage our students to do that. We can even start off with these kind of exercises, which are very interesting as icebreakers for a session. When I know that my lecture is going on some other topic which is very boring or very tedious for the students, or too technical or heavier subject, then I quickly take a break by introducing them to any kind of exercise in between. What is a palindrome? Like Malayalam, it begins with the same letters arranged. Even if I arrange it in the reverse order, it's the same thing. So why don't you come up with such words in English language? Just yesterday, I came across a very interesting message on WhatsApp, wherein one-liner jokes with double meanings. They had a specific name for it. There was a competition for it, and people even won awards for it. Now I'm not able to recall any sentence, but it had something like a will is a dead giveaway. A will is a dead giveaway. So here in dead giveaway has 2 meanings. When you are dead, then you give away what all you have, and dead means sure. Giveaway means giving out the secret. So these kind of one-liners in English, and there's a competition for that, and people who can come up with most catchy, most brief, concise one-liners, they were given awards in an international competition. So this is very good. These are energizing activities. These also increase proficiency in the language and help to break the lull in the class. So that can be encouraged. Okay, so how do I improve my knowledge of grammar? Best is I go to my class 10th and 12th books, revisit the rules, and start doing these exercises. Now let's attempt an exercise here. I want to attempt a few exercises here with you. There are a few topics of grammar that we should be practicing regularly. For example, subject-verb agreement, tenses, prepositions, punctuation. Punctuation, I feel, is very important for people coming from technical backgrounds, because they have to make very long sentences, which are complex sentences in nature. And then the comma, the colon, the semicolon has to be put in the right place. Otherwise, the pauses put at different places change the entire sense of the sentence. And we'll do that exercise now. Okay, so now if you can see the slide, I have attempted to bring out few exercises in subject-verb agreement. Let me connect with the audience, with some remote center also, where the audience in the studio can attempt whatever is visible to them on the slide, and then we'll compare our answers. Can I please get connected to Rajasthan Institute of Engineering and Technology, Jaipur? Are they online? Connected?
Yes, ma'am.
They are? Okay. Hello? Good morning. Good morning to both the gentlemen there. I hope you can hear me. Yes? Can you hear me, both of you, sirs?
कॉलेज का नाम एक बार फिर ले ली.
Okay. I hope I am in conversation with Rajasthan Institute of Engineering and Technology, Ajmer Road, Jaipur.
Hello.
Good morning, sir. We must hear you. I can hear you.
अनम्यूट कर लेंगे तो आगे आवाज चली जाएगी. अब यहाँ नहीं सुनाई देगी. थोड़ी देर बैठो, कहीं इंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है. थोड़ी देर बैठो.
हमारे को तेरा वो डेट वाला पता कर दिया है. मेल 2 मिनट में हमारा काम चल रहा है.
ठीक है.
वो एक फॉरवर्ड करते हैं मेरे मनोज वाले आईडी पे, है ना? फिर हमारा इसको डेट वाला करते
सर
हैं।
आपको मेरी आवाज सुन रही है? क्योंकि मुझे आपकी आवाज सुन रही है।
आप फिर पक्का करेगा
अपना बोल रहा है सर, इसमें सीधे आवाज करेंगे, इसमें यहाँ नहीं सुनाई देगी, वहाँ सुनाई देगी। हेलो, गुड मॉर्निंग मैम।
RIET अजमेर रोड जयपुर, आपको हमारी आवाज आ रही है कि नहीं आ रही है?
यस मैम, यस सर।
हाँ तो मैडम आप इंटरेक्ट कर रही हैं, उसका जवाब दीजिए ना आप यार। If you will not respond, we will not know that you are able to hear us or no. Okay.
सर योर वॉइस,
आपको हमारी आवाज आ रही है ना?
यस सर।
हाँ, हमें भी आपको आपकी आवाज आ रही है तो
Yes. Alright, I hope आपको स्लाइड दिख रही है, पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन की जो स्लाइड है. Can you see the slide? Wherein there is exercise
Yes, ma'am.
1. Yes? Okay. So, sir, may I have your name, please, because I would want you to help me in solving this exercise. अपना नाम बताएंगे, please, sir?
हम नितेश प्रधान।
Nitesh, sir?
नितेश
प्रधान।
प्रधान।
Okay, Mr. Pradhan?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should we begin attempting this exercise? Yes? Okay.
Your voice is not clear, ma'am.
My voice is not clear. I'll try to raise the pitch of my voice to the next level.
Echo noise are there.
मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा। ओके, आप सिर्फ सर पढ़िए और आंसर दीजिए, ठीक है? जो फर्स्ट सेंटेंस है उसका आंसर दीजिए। द चेयरमैन विद द डायरेक्टर्स डैश टू बी प्रेजेंट फॉर द मीटिंग। इसमें कौन सा वर्ब आना चाहिए? कि हैज या हैव?
Okay, ma'am. Just wait.
मैम एक सेंटर ने जवाब दिया है लिख के।
Okay, we already have a written answer for the centers.
Ma'am, the answer should be has.
It should be has. The chairman with the director present for the meeting.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We have also have a written response from one of the centers. Which center is that?
मैम चीज मैम गवर्नमेंट पॉलिटेक्निक बीड़ महाराष्ट्र।
Okay. I have another answer from Government Polytechnic B in Maharashtra. And their answer is, sir?
First is RARE.
Okay. Now someone here has said for the first sentence, Nitesh ji, आपने has कहा, किसी और ने कहा the chairman with the directors are to be present for the meeting. But here is that is what
Yes,
we. Okay, Nitesh ji, don't go. We are still here. Can anybody from the studio audience attempt this? What should it be? Has or have? Has. Yes. Is that so? Everybody agrees with me? Yes. So Nitesh ji, we have a majority supporting you, which is the correct answer. And why should not be plural? कोई बता सकता है? Why should? Yes.
Ma'am, actually the verb will be according to the first person, first subject.
Okay, may I have a name, please, ma'am?
My name is Pramod.
Okay, Pramod here is saying that the verb has to be according to the first subject, and that is why the singularity chairman singular hai. All right, let me just change this sentence a little bit, Pramod, and then you tell me. The chairman and the directors have to be present for the meeting.
Have to be present.
So, the chairman ही रहा.
Ma'am, because now subjects equal importance is given to two subjects.
Okay, so Pramod here has brought out very well, and Nitesh, this is still in consonance with what you've said. When I change my conjunction, when instead of with I use and, my subject becomes plural. Then it takes up a plural verb. Anybody who's replied from Government Polytechnic B, that only when I use and will the chairman and the directors be counted together as plural, and they'll take up a plural verb. Otherwise, if I take with, together with, along with, or even as well as the chairman as well as the directors, then also I will have a singular verb. Has to be present for the meeting. Okay? This much is clear. So this is small. These are small exercises, but they go a long way in improving my proficiency. I'm giving out the logic also. Okay. Nitesh, are you with me? Let's do the next sentence. The rise and fall of the tide. Tell me, singular or plural verb? Due to the lunar influence. Is आएगा कि आर आएगा? Okay, somebody.
Just wait.
Yes,
Ma'am, the
sorry, yes.
R, ma'am, R.
R आएगा. Okay.
R.
Is okay. Now studio audience is very enthusiastic about
मैम
it. Say
गवर्नमेंट पॉलिटेक्निक से भी उन्होंने इसका है.
beat say.
हाँ जी.
Amazing. Government polytechnic has to applaud you because you are correct and so is the studio audience. Nitesh जी यहाँ पे R नहीं आएगा. Is आएगा. क्यों? Yes, because one activity, Nitesh ji, when the tide will fall also. And if tide which will collect and rise also to form next wave or tide. This is one idea. It can be brought home by another example. Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy and wise. हमने makes use किया है जबकि मैं दो चीजों के बारे में बात करूँ. Early to bed and early to rise. So this is one idea. Because if you just sleep early and get up late, then you're going to be very lazy. If you sleep late and get up early, then you're going to be very unhealthy. So for these things to be proven true, these two things have to exist together. The same thing, bread and butter is his only meal. It has to be his. Because that person is not surviving only on bread. That person is not surviving only on butter. But bread and butter together. So these are small things that we can practice to practice grammar. Okay, let's go on the next example. Nitesh, are you still with me? Okay, Nitesh, अब आप last two sentence अटेंड कीजिए कि third वाले में क्या आएगा? The parliament dash divided on the report.
The main options are.
Again is R. Again is R.
Is the parliament is divided. Very well. Is one.
Parliament is divided. वैसे इसमें आना चाहिए.
Yes.
Ma'am, the options are is and are.
Yes, yeah, is yeah. Yeah, parliament dash divided on the report.
Confirm. Ma'am, for third question, the answer will be is.
Okay. And for the last sentence, that is the fourth one, which will be?
For last question, ma'am.
Yes, the parliament dash passed the bill. Have या has
For last question, the options are has and have na.
Yes.
Okay, so the answer is the parliament has passed the bill.
Okay, so दोनों केसेस में आप कह रहे हैं कि सिंगुलर वर्ब आएगा पार्लियामेंट के साथ. Yes, नितेश जी, पहले आपने कहा is आएगा तो पार्लियामेंट divided on the report, and last वाले में कहा तो पार्लियामेंट has passed the bill. What is the bill? Okay, प्रमोद
The parliament
tell me the logic.
the members of the
logic.
Hello friends. In first sentence, the parliament are divided on the report. The reason is that because the members of it refers the parliament means the members of the parliament. So that's why there will be a plural verb. And in second sentence, the parliament has passed the bill. So as the union, parliament has passed the bill. So it is a singular subject.
Yes, thank you so much. Alright, so I just like to add a little bit to it. The parliament, whenever I talk about collective noun, we usually think it is singular. Collective noun is the singular rather arm ban karke. No. When I am talking about divisions or bifurcations within that collective noun, then that collective noun will take a plural verb. Like in the third sentence, because they were divided, there was no unanimous decision taken on it. Okay? And in the next sentence, the last one, when I am taking the collective noun together as a group, so it becomes a singular entity, it takes on a singular verb. I just cannot close my eyes and apply any rule which I have learned blindfoldedly. I have to be very conscious as to what I am using when. I can even elaborate this example further, this concept further with an example wherein the crew of the ship were taken prisoners. क्योंकि उनकी एक body तो नहीं है, उनको capture करने के लिए, cell में डालने के लिए, they would have to be handcuffed separately and then put separately in cells or maybe in a group of 2 or 3. But when I'm talking about the crew in the other concept, the crew of the ship is on board. Everybody together as a group is on board. Thank you, Nitesh ji, for such a good participation. And applaud to you and your center. They have also helped you a lot. I hope to have brought about some clarity here. Yes? Okay. Yes, and also to Government Polytechnic B. You even wrote down your answers. Amazing. I like this kind of participation a lot. Let's move on to another exercise about grammar. Let's have somebody else here. This is about prepositions. One of my participants once told me there are 48 prepositions in English language, but the use of prepositions changes the entire meaning because we have prepositional phrases wherein a preposition is followed by an adverb or a verb or both an adverb and a verb, and it changes the entire meaning. For example, bring about. It does not mean to किसी गोल रास्ते से to bring something around some long winding road to a destination. Bring about together means to cause to happen. Yes. So I have a preposition about which is preceded by a verb, and these two together acquire a different meaning altogether. Like bring up, to rear somebody up, or to highlight something during a discussion, to bring up a topic during discussion. And also, when prepositions are followed by different words or preceded by different verbs, then there is a different meaning altogether to the same preposition. To the same verb, if I put different prepositions after it, the meaning changes, and that is what I've tried to bring about in this exercise. Let's see, will Government Polytechnic be connected to us? Will they be? Yes? Okay, let's have somebody from Government Polytechnic be interact on this exercise. Quickly, sir. Good morning, sir. May I have your name, please? Yes, sir. So I'm losing your voice in between.
Subscribe to the Hanson Flood Relief Fund.
Okay, the flood relief fund. It should be 2 here.
Two. Yes.
Yes. Can I not use for subscription? अगर मैं subscribe करना चाहती हूँ, can I not use for?
No, ma'am. It should be some to the flood relief fund.
Okay. God, this is correct. Sir, may I have your name, please? Sir, may I have your name, please? Okay, doesn't matter. I'll move further because I don't want to waste any time. Knowledge is of more importance here, so I'm not to come in between that. So you are very correct in saying that subscribed a handsome sum to the flood relief fund. I can also use for after subscribing or after subscribe, but that changes the meaning of that phrase. When I am contributing something, then I use subscribe to. When I'm receiving something like subscription for a membership, I'm a membership of a club, then I'm receiving services, subscription to a magazine, so I'm receiving that magazine, then I use subscription for. So when I'm on the giving end, I use to. When I'm on the receiving end, I use for after subscribe. So that is how a simple preposition, which can come, in both cases it can come, but the meaning changes. So I have to apply my mind there. Okay. Let's look at the next sentence here again from Government Polytechnic B. I would request you, sir, to attempt this. He quarreled dash me dash a trifle.
He quarreled with me for a trifle.
Sir, let's stop. Okay. Leave it me, sir. Anybody from the studio audience wants to attempt this? Except, okay, from them. No, you can.
Quarreled with me or
Okay. Pramodya says on a trifle, and sir, you said with a trifle. For a trifle. It is always quarreled over something. He quarreled with me over a trifle. Yes. So Pramod was very close here. Whenever you're quarreling over something, not quarreling about, quarreling for, or quarreling on. Quarrel is always followed by over. Let's move on to the next sentence quickly. Let me comply dash my request. Yes, sir. Now, no, we are connecting with someone.
JCD.
Okay, JC, can you tell me your answer?
JCD
Yes.
आवाज clear नहीं.
What is your answer for this, JCD Sirsa? He complied dash my request. What would you say is the answer for this? With or to? On my request. On my request. Okay. Alright, let's compare. We stay with me, ma'am. And let's compare the answer with the response here from studio audience. Yes, studio audience says. Okay. So now there was confusion between with and to, and with then they are finally settled on to, which is the correct answer. Compliant with and complied to. So ma'am, आपने जो answer दिया था, that is not possible. That is not correct. Complied as a verb is always followed by to. When it is compliant as an adjective, then I have with. Okay, compliant. Now this confusion is coming because I have the same root word in my mind. I just need to remember the part of speech of the word that I'm using as of now, and then उसके बाद मेरे को preposition लगाना. Okay? Yes. So comply से मेरे पास compliant भी है और complied भी है. I just need to know in which part of speech. Here I'm using this as a verb. So complied to. When I use it compliant, adjective with. When I use it as a different part of speech. So not any rule can be followed. I have to be very careful also about the part of speech of the word after which the preposition is coming. Let's attempt the last one. We should rely dash our efforts. अब इसमें हम sense bring about करें. तो rely के बाद on बोला studio audience ने. Can I have an answer from B Maharashtra Government Polytechnic B? Okay, let me continue here this way. Now, I hope my voice is reaching everybody. The studio audience here has said that we should rely on our efforts. Now, the thing is, we usually translate a word and then try to associate a preposition with it. Rely can be used as a synonym, can be, but not always, and it is not advisable also to use it as a synonym for depend. You depend on somebody for a particular situation, but reliance or rely happens not only for that, but also over a period of time. So it has to be rely upon, not only for now, but also for future situations to come up. So rely upon and depend on. And this is a usual, very common error that we make. So now I have tried to bring about that the sense of the word also has to be taken care of while applying preposition. Not only the part of speech, sense भी. So तीनों चारों example में मैंने अलग-अलग चीज bring about करने की कोशिश करी है. For example, celebrate है. Celebrated by, celebrated with, celebrated for. Celebrated for means known, applauded, accolades मिले हैं उसके लिए. Celebrated by the people. And celebrated with zeal, enthusiasm, fervor. This talks more about non-tangible things like feelings, emotions. Okay? So this is how our usage of preposition also determines the sense of the sentence. Alright, let's quickly go to punctuation. ये grammar वाले exercise हो रही है, फिर उसके बाद दूसरे tools देखेंगे. Okay, punctuation with this sentence has come up here all together, but I would not like to do that. I will read out the sentence to you. Woman without her man is nothing. Okay. Now there are two ways in which this sentence I have written with just a small difference of the placement of the comma. I'll read out to you and you tell me the difference in the sense conveyed by that placement of comma. The sentence is, a woman without her man is nothing. This is a plain sentence without any comma. I've put commas at two different places in the same sentence. A woman without her man is nothing. A woman without her man is nothing. So you see, the single placement of comma changes the sense. What is the sense conveyed by the first sentence which has comma? A woman without her man is nothing. Herein, I am giving more importance to man, that a woman is totally dependent upon her man, otherwise she is nothing. In the second sentence, I say, a woman without her man is nothing. So, without the woman, man is nothing. More importance to the woman. Yes. So, in a small sentence, this comma can change the sense to such a degree. He eats, shoots, and sleeps all day. He eats, shoots, and sleeps all day. 3 activities. He eats, shoots, and sleeps all day. I've removed the comma, 2 activities. So, shoots खाता है, पत्ते खाता है और सोता है सारा. So, when we are writing our thesis, when our students are writing their answers, they are very unmindful about commas, and especially for somebody who is reviewing the thesis and editing it, for coming from a non-technical background to understand, make sense of the scientific jargon used, and फिर उसके अंदर जो experiment हो रहा है, if there is a misplacement of a punctuation mark, the whole sense of the sentence is lost to me. It is very difficult for a layman like me, coming from a non-technical background, to understand such scientific concepts wherein even the punctuation marks are misplaced. So this should be practiced. And these are the basic things we use for writing email or letters, which we use these days the most. I have not gone into other details like complex sentence, compound sentence. उनकी तो मैंने बात भी नहीं करी. ये regular basis पे practice करने चाहिए because we use them. Now there's a very common mistake that many people, especially in the northern part of the country, make. I am having a car, I have a car. For them, these two sentences mean the same. I cannot. Having means when I am using it like this, I am having like a present participle main verb, then it becomes consuming. I cannot consume a car, but they say that this means कि मेरे पास car है, that I own a car, which is conveyed by the second sentence, I have a car. So the practice of tenses should also be done, wherein I use perfect continuous tense or just continuous tense. That should also be clear. Long activities with a definition of time attached to them will use continuous tense. Otherwise, if there is no limits of time to them, I will use perfect continuous tense, whether in past, present, or future. These kind of practices, which are quick, see, we enjoyed so much, and they are, they actually lighten our brain also. So this should be done on a daily basis. I usually do that with my students. चाहे मैं mass communication भी पढ़ाने गई हूँ, बीच में English का थोड़ा सा कर ही देते हैं, so that this is the language that they are going to use for communication. All right, let's come back to the next technique or tools for improving tips or effective writing skills. The rich vocabulary. Do you think we can develop rich vocabulary by reading the dictionary?
When we came across a word whose meaning we don't know, then we can consult.
Yes, thank you, Pramod. So we need to read in context. I just cannot take up the dictionary and start memorizing the words. That will not help me to improve or enhance my vocabulary. I have to read in context to know 80% or 50% of the sense of the word. The exact meaning will be brought about by the usage of the dictionary. So now I know the meaning and the usage, and I retain it longer in my memory. Yes. Also, I also advise my students to make a word tree, like we did just now with comply. For example, this is a very small example, but it can be with bigger words also, like diversification. This was done with class 5th student. They come across the word diversification. तो मैंने बोला हम सोचते हैं इससे छोटा, सबसे छोटा वर्ड हम क्या बना सकते हैं? Diverse. I said, so let's write it down at the bottom. Diverse. Now let's think of other words which sound like diverse and can be formed. So, yes. So diversity, diversification, diversion. Yes. And then we looked up the dictionary to find out the part of speech, the meaning. So with one word, the students were able to learn 3 more new words. So usually it happens 4 or 5 new words, and they had made a picture of it in their notebooks, this is retained more. The pictographic memory is retained more. Through one difficult word, more words are formed and their usage is also learned. So that is how you can increase or enrich vocabulary by reading in context and making word trees. Okay, and this is very easy, and it's very playful in nature. So it is kind of break from the mundane and helps us to increase our knowledge. Next is reading. Reading again can all of us have been brought especially up north, we all have studied in English medium schools. Yet we hesitate with our proficiency, with our usage of English. We are not so proficient because we have used that language in a very formal environment. But we are very quick to pick up our mother tongue. Though we did make mistakes initially. Every child I know calls pani or water mum. शुरू में mum ही बोलते हैं, but then that child is corrected and told pani, pani, pani or water, he takes up. So how do I learn a language? How do I read? I read in pleasure time activities. I start reading magazines that I enjoy, journals, blogs, like sir was talking about my blog, wherein whatever spiritual thoughts that keep coming or thoughts about my purpose of life and whatever random thoughts I have, I put them up on the blog and ask others to read and comment on them. So our pleasure time reading will improve my vocabulary because this is something of my interest. It is not forced upon me. So that barrier of inhibition ki ye to padhna hi padega, that is not there. I welcome already the substance of the reading and then with it comes the proficiency in language also. Okay. Next is regular practice. Now regular practice can be enforced by you. The way I do it with my students is I form WhatsApp group with my students. So I have WhatsApp group in NIFT, UICT, Punjab University, Thapar University. Every day we exchange messages wherein the students are required to write at least 1 or 2 sentences in correct English using all the correct grammar, vocabulary, rules, regulations, sharing a thought. And then we all comment on it. And we do not corrupt the language. I encourage my students to put up a Facebook update. Everybody visits Facebook these days. More than they visit their parents or friends, they visit the Facebook every day. And write down something. So write it down using the English script in the English language. Apply all the rules of grammar. Another thing that I can do, I have tried to do in motivating them, encouraging them to develop a good personality is to, I put up a quotation from a great thinker there and tell them to read it and give me their interpretation of the quotation in their own words in correct English and grammar on the WhatsApp group. And then we can probably talk about it whenever we meet weekly or bi-weekly. So that is how regular practice should be done. For teachers, otherwise, even if whenever we are given an opportunity to formulate a circular, to draft a memorandum minutes, that we become better at it. It is a skill. It will improve only through practice and not by learning. It has to be practiced. So we will make mistakes initially. How do you know the other person will notice the mistake? Even if that person notices the mistake, we'll point it out and you will stand corrected and you will improve. That is the whole point of the exercise. And the last thing is review of your book. It is very important, whatever you write, you should get it reviewed from 4 or 5 sources. First is someone who is better than you, because that person is going to edit it, point out the flaws and mistakes. Second, from someone who's your peer, who's your colleague, who has the same level of proficiency. So for that person to know whether the sense is coming across or not. And third, from that person who is not so proficient in the language, so that you are able to connect with that kind of audience also, because the purpose of any language is communication. If I am not able to communicate or transfer information, then it is of no use. And once you've got your work reviewed, please include the improvements as a result of the feedback that you've received. Otherwise, it's of no use. Alright? So this is what I wanted to talk about, writing skills, these exercises we've done. Let's quickly go to agenda and schedule of our meeting, wherein we are going to use. And I think as lecturers or teachers and in our other responsibilities besides teaching, we might come across this kind of work also. So that is, I've included this too. How do I make agenda or agenda of a meeting? Now, it's a single page document. It is circulated to the employees or the members for the meeting. So it gives a brief overview of what is going to be discussed at the meeting. It's just a bird's eye view of everything. So it has to be very concise. But it does not need to leave out the relevant details because people don't turn up for the meeting without any knowledge as to what we are meeting for, what are we supposed to contribute, what is expected of us, and what is the purpose of the meeting. They should be enthusiastic and conscious of the purpose of the meeting. Also, it is also put up as a circular on the notice board. We should not give away too much information which is available to random strangers who visit the office or at the reception. Okay, so this, and also sometimes the meeting invites guests from outside the organization. So this agenda is circulated to those people also through traditional post or maybe via email. Now that is kind of being, you know, when the person is making the agenda of the meeting, is also acting as a brand ambassador for that organization. कैसे लोग काम करते हैं, you know? So that has to be kept in mind. The same, you know, thinking applies when we are communicating via email or even on the telephone with somebody outside our organization. So this etiquette of using the language, placing the text properly at convenience and proper understanding comes along with all these methods of communication. Alright, let's begin the template and then I'll discuss with you as in how it happens. Now date, and first thing is date and time. We can write the date either in American format or the British format. Here it is written in American format. We will not use the digitized format which is meant only for machines to read. I will not write this at 08.08.2013. That is only for computerized forms. Do not insult anybody's capability to be able to read the name of the month. Now this is August 8, 2013, month, first, day, and then here American format. When I have to write it in British format, if I'm in the organization which is based in Europe, Britain, or an erstwhile Britain colony like India, Australia, or Canada, British format of date writing would be used. If I'm communicating based in America, still communicating with some country or some company based in Europe, I will write the date in their format so that they know that I speak their language, they should trust me, and the communication process is moving further. So, and that format is 8th, 8 preceded by TH, 8th day. I usually remove the day of, also I remove, so 8th August, 1992 or 2013, whatever the year is. The year is separated with a comma. I will not mix up these two formats. August 8th, that's wrong. 8 August, that's wrong. It has to be either this way or that way and not at all digitalized. Okay. Next, I give the time 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Very carefully. AM, PM, everything. Leave a line, then I give the next heading. And please see, nothing is in bold because it's a single page document. Nothing should occupy more attention. Everything is of equal importance. So that is why everything is given like this. No underlining, no bolding of the headings. These are not headings, these are just pointers. Location, conference room B. When I'm deciding the location of the agenda of the meeting, I have to be mindful as to it is easy to locate. It provides enough space for people to sit together and discuss. It is not too far and wide that the people are not assimilated together or congregating together as a group. The space comes in between of the interaction, and also if some outside guests are coming for the meeting, they should be able to locate it easily. And if not so, if I cannot find the preferred venue, I should make arrangements with pointers or directions from the reception, from the entrance of the building to the venue of the meeting for the guests to be able to access and reach on time for the meeting. So this has to go in place when I am deciding the location. ऐसे नहीं कोई भी location. If I want to impress the clients, get a bigger conference room. But then that bigger conference room, bigger space should not come in way of interaction. That these things have to be kept in mind. Alright, next I leave a line and again I give attendees. Now this list is separated with commas. It is not given down as a drop-down bulleted list. Why? Because this is single page document. So I will not use space just like that. So I have separated the names, first name, last name with commas. No titles, Mr., Miss, Dr., Mrs. Kuch nahi dala hai isme. I've just given the first name and the last name. And then I leave a line and then objective. Why are we meeting? The objective here, if you will see, is like a statement, not a complete sentence. We shall develop, we or shall हमने हटा दिया. It is like a phrase or a statement. Develop ideas by quarter of for the 2013 product launch dates in accordance with the current technology and marketing platform. So this is the objective. And then I have given as a statement that what is expected of participants, so that ये ना हो कि हमें तो समझ ही नहीं आया, clarity नहीं है, and they don't participate. as expected of them in the meeting. So just one small line, everyone should be prepared to discuss and offer suggestions. That's a complete sentence. So we can give a proper hint also, a subtle hint also as to how your participation is expected in the meeting. Again, I leave a line, and then what do I give? I give the schedule. This is again pocketed, minute by minute schedule. Usually, the first two items are usually fixed in every meeting. First is like approval of minutes of the last meeting. This is proposed by the mediator. Also, who are moving the motions? That has to be noted down here, so that these people do not absent themselves from the meeting. And if they do, the blame is not on the person who has formulated the agenda. क्योंकि ये तो मैंने agenda में दे दिया था, ऐसे कैसे आप बोल सकते हैं आपको पता ही नहीं था आपने करना? Okay, and this again, this is a responsibility that you're able to carry out. So this is again a ladder to success. This is how you're influencing people by writing down simple words that you are ensuring their presence. Okay. Before that also, approval of minutes of meeting में हम कई बार agenda of the present meeting is also approved. That gives all these two items. When I discuss the minutes of the meeting, these two items are usually fixed in the minutes of a meeting. Next is again, business. What is the business of the meeting? Point to point, I have noted that down. And also, who is moving the motions? If you have somebody who is moving the motions, the good idea is to tell them to write down the motion and give it to you. But that should be done before, well before you are formulating the agenda. Because you should have enough time with you to write it down in the agenda and also circulate it amongst the participants, the members, 3 or 4 days, working days before the meeting. Now, why am I asking you to take suggestions from the participants or members who are moving their motion, so that there is no discrepancy or gap in communication? They might have anticipated some other matter to be issued to be discussed, but you worded it in such a way that something else was understood by the other members and something else happened to be discussed. And the whole purpose of the meeting falls flat. So just to avoid any kind of false responsibility or blame coming up on the person who's formulating the agenda, best is to ask the members to give their own motion. But then there should be specific time limit also. Give them a time limit that I am making the agenda for the meeting, which is to happen on this date for this objective. If there's a motion that you would like to discuss, please give it to me by this date, by this time. Otherwise, I shall not be able to include it in the agenda for this time. Very clearly. And follow that email up with a call also. Don't just make the call. Give a written communication also, so that there is no blame on you. Just ensuring that no blame comes. That is how the written word becomes a ladder to success. Okay? And then finally, the last item is usually 10 or 15 minutes are reserved for the chair. In government organizations especially, if there is something that the chair or the head honcho feels that should be discussed, must just come up and so that time space should be allowed, allocated beforehand to the chair, so that he or she may discuss whatever he or she may choose to do so. And then after this, it's very important in the agenda itself to assign the roles and responsibilities. Why? These people know what all they have to do besides participating in the meeting. They not absent themselves. If they are anticipating or are going to be absent from the meeting from A or B, C reasons, they tell you their regrets then and there, and then you allocate the responsibility to somebody else. So this has to go. Again, the blame is not on you. Everybody knows what everybody has to do. And what are these responsibilities? Recording minute meetings, note taking. If there's something that has come up which cannot be included in detail in minutes of the meeting, because that is very brief, but specific detailed note has to go out about that. So that is done by somebody else. And if there is some kind of fight, if you know they are going to be inflated egos that are going to be at each other's neck, so इनको कौन शांत कराने वाला है? Mediation के लिए usually we have the person who's a little senior, whose word carries clout with the head honcho and with everybody in the organization. Everybody is listening to that person, and it is that person who does not lose his or her calm and composure. उनको mediation का काम है. Okay? This done with single page document. This is the agenda of the meeting. Let's come to the minutes of a meeting. How do if I am noting down the minutes of the meeting, how do I go on noting it down? Now, this is just an additional role and responsibility. I have to participate in the meeting also. So ये नहीं सोचना कि मैं minutes note कर रही हूँ या कर रहा हूँ तो मैं तो कुछ बोलूँगा नहीं. No. I will not be assigned this job again, because the director, the chair will notice, or even the person who has formulated the agenda will notice that there was no contribution from your end or my end while I was participating, taking down the minutes of the meeting. So for that, I do not need to carry a laptop, because if I open up my laptop, ki main laptop pe note karungi, so that creates a barricade between me and the other members. So I preferably carry something, not even a diary like this. I preferably carry something which is a spiral pad and can fold on both sides, which is easier to manage it. I carry pencil with erasers attached to them, 2 or 3 pencils, because I am making corrections in it then and there. Because meeting is going on, something is being discussed. Eventually, result kya hota hai, that I have to note down. So I might have noted down something, then there is the discussion on it again, and then eventually something else happens. So if there's so much of cutting with a pen, it might be fresh in my memory then, but the moment I'm outside that room, I reach my office, many final details are out of my memory, and that cutting will make the work even more difficult for me to understand. मेरी अपनी handwriting नहीं समझ आई. So it's easier to turn the pencil around quickly without causing much commotion, erase it and write it down again with pencil. Because as it is, this is a rough draft. It is going to be approved in the next meeting, which you'll have to type out. So that is how we approach a meeting when we have to note down the minutes of the meeting. Okay, what do I do first? I give the title of the meeting, the date of the meeting, and then meeting call to order, then the time when it began, by which person, Josna Bhagat, that's the chair. Okay. Now if you see, this goes into pages, so everything is going to be elaborated, but then it has to be very objective. No personal opinions, biases, or any kind of unnecessary details. पहले उसने ये कहा, फिर दूसरे ने ये कहा, फिर तीसरे ने ये कहा. No. Eventually, what happens? That has to be, and no finger pointing or blaming, because these are official records. These are even used for legal reference once minutes of a meeting are approved. So this has to be very unbiased. I leave a line, then who was in the chair and when the meeting started, and then who were the members present. Now you see the list is bulleted because it's a comprehensive document. The clarity has to be there. So it's a bulleted list of who all were there. First is who was in the chair. Then I leave a line, members not present and pre-arranged. These people had sent their apologies already. So these were people who were absent. They were expected, but they are not available because of A, B, or C reason, whatever. So pre-arranged. But then after the meeting, I know that somebody had said that they will come, but they did not turn up. So I'll just write their name and not write pre-arranged in brackets. So their anomaly, their falling, is noticed by the director or the head honcho, why this person did not come for the meeting. Okay, so any slight misconduct is also not unnoticed by anybody if the meetings are also noted down properly. Minutes are noted down properly. Again, I leave a line. Then, what is the reading of the agenda? Are we meeting today for this purpose or not? So, how do I do it? Motion, whatever the name of the motion is, and how was the voting pattern on it? Motion carried. What was resolved? That resolved for the meeting of 8th August 13 without agenda was accepted without any changes in it, without any modification. This is usually, these first 2 items are the same for every meeting, whether it be annual meeting, weekly meeting, or whatever, a meeting in an emergency purpose. Okay, next is approval of minutes of the previous meeting. So what was the motion? Who here this nobody would move it because this is not personal. This is for everybody. So there is who moved it is not there. Then what was the motion? Voting pattern, motion carried. Everybody had read it. So if you are noting down the minutes of the meeting for this present meeting, and the next weekly meeting is supposed to happen on 15th of August. So by 13th of August, these minutes as a draft should reach everybody, so that in the next meeting they have come and read it, and if they want some modifications, it is brought about now, rather than wasting the time of the members and discussing some stale matter. So this, the responsibility of the person noting down the minutes ends then. After 4 or 5 days, not 4 5, if it's a weekly meeting, then after 3 days of the meeting getting over. So that is how the duration is fixed for every meeting on responsibility. Then what was resolved without modification, it was accepted. Then is business, the purpose for which we are meeting. Motion, who moved this motion? What was motion from? What was the motion? What was the voting pattern? 6 in favor, 2 against, 1 abstain. Every detail has to be noted down. But see, I have not written down who abstained from voting. who supported it, who was against it. These details are not required, but voting pattern is required because this is a legal reference. It might be referred to later on. ऐसी थोड़ी किसी ने बात मानी. No, no. We discussed it also. There were few people who did not favor it. Okay, so if this decision falls flat, so these two people who had refused this decision in the first place have a better knack of understanding these kind of matters. So इनकी बात ज़्यादा सुननी चाहिए. So this is what is the purpose of minutes of the meeting also. Not only legal reference, but for the company's own betterment and decision taking, better efficiency with decision taking. Okay. And then what was resolved? Finally, what happened to the motion? Was there an amendment to it, or without any amendment to it, was it accepted? So this was accepted without any amendment. Let's take up another example when there was an amendment to the motion when it was accepted. So what was the motion, from whom? What was the motion? How was the voting? So 3 were in favor, 4 were against it. So it did not stand. So what was resolved? Motion failed. It was not accepted. But there was an amendment to it. It changed. Mr. Neeraj Gupta offered to repair the table at no cost. So there was no need to purchase. So the motion failed, but then the work happened in this way. So this also reflects in the accounts of the company, the decision taking of the company, how a person is contributing to the betterment of the company. So this all should be taken care of. Also, Mr. Neeraj Gupta का नाम इसलिए लिखा है कि just in case tomorrow the table is not there, who is the person to be held responsible? Mr. Neeraj. That is why we've included the name here. Okay, because we're a single person's decision to offer. Next is again how we go on moving motions. Voting pattern is there. If there's a certain change in the motion, that also is noted down as amendment. You'll see this is just repetition. And I'm noting down these motions after giving a gap of a single line. Then the meeting ended with thanks to the chair, and always on all government organizations, we give thanks to the chair. Then we leave a line, and then with the meeting end, the meeting adjourned at this time. Okay, now after the meeting is over, there are certain documents, if they were referred to, reports that were referred to, ask for the copies of those documents, reports then and there, because it might just slip out of your memory, also might slip out of the memory of the person or the member who was to supply this report and document. It is brief, but it is not brief at the cost of cutting down important details. Finer details are not included. And I told you that role, responsibilities, everything should be assigned properly. If there are any doubts regarding the, let's say, the email address or the contact address, please clarify it then and there. For this same purpose comes that some members might say, I did not get a copy of the agenda, email मेरे को नहीं मिला, I got a circular, फिर मुझे जितना याद रहा उतना याद रहा. So if you are the one who has formulated the agenda of the meeting, please go to the meeting with a few extra hard copies of the meeting, because there will be members who will turn up without the copy of the agenda, and then they'll claim they have no knowledge as to why they are meeting here today. So they do not have any reason, even if through you, by mistake you sent the email to a wrong address, they do not have a reason to excuse themselves from participation or put up a badge in participation in a meeting, and that would actually reflect on the inefficiency of the person formulating the agenda. So carry extra copies of the agenda to the meeting. Okay, now let me quickly take up the third. I know I have surpassed my time, but because we started off 10 minutes late, I'll just quickly do it within 10 minutes, because this is in continuation of resume writing, which I'm going to take up later. Now this is a template of an official letter, which can be converted into an email, which can be converted into a covering letter, which the students can give out with their unsolicited resume, and also solicited resume, which they can carry through to interview rooms. Okay, and this is also this can also be used by them for any official communication. For example, like I want to be the librarian, I just want to order books. So what is the template I'm going to follow? So this is what I'm discussing with you, and very normal things, just finer points which we usually miss out. जैसे हम preposition में miss out कर देते हैं, बस वही मैंने यहाँ पे bring about किया. I just highlighted them. So I follow the modern block format. I am talking about the modern block format. It could be any format which the company or organization is following that you continue to follow, or according to your own wishes and preferences, you can follow whichever format you want to follow. Why am I following this is because it's easier to adapt this format into the pattern of an email. So it serves many purposes. इसलिए मैं ये वाला format follow कर रही हूँ. In this, all text is placed along an imaginary margin on the left side of the sheet, or otherwise on the left side of the screen. Okay, the first block has the sender's address. It will be the title of the sender, the director, not the name of the person, the director of so and so organization, such and such place, such and such city, and the pin code. Now, if you'll see, the punctuation marks are coming in between the lines, but not towards the end of the line, because we do away with unnecessary characters while writing the email also. So no punctuation marks like full stop or comma towards the end of the line, but बीच में है 12 comma ABC है. Pin code जरूरी है because any official communication is followed by traditional mail, which is either registered or speed posted. So if with the name of the person, the organization, and the pin code, the letter will reach, even if the other address is incorrect. So this is very much important. And why do I need to give my own pin code in my letter? Because my assistant is going to, their assistant, the receiver's assistant is going to pick up my address from here. The receiver might know my address, but the person who's going to finally put it in the envelope and type the address on the envelope is going to be an assistant of that person. So that person, that assistant may not be that intelligent or that knowledgeable about the discussion or the communication that we are having. So for the ease of convenience of communication, I need to put down these details. I leave a line, then I put the date. Again, the same format of putting the date. Either the British or the American, and the logic I told you which format. If I'm communicating with somebody based in the European Union or somebody which has been an erstwhile United Kingdom colony, or even somebody in England, then I need to put the British format. Otherwise, the American format. Never ever digitalize date that is in a computerized form to be read by a machine. I should not insult anybody. Leave a line, then receiver's address. Because मेरे assistant ने यहाँ से address लेना है. So that is why I need to give the receiver his or her own address. Because my assistant is going to take up the address from here and type it on the envelope and finally put the letter there. And same rules, punctuation rules, pin code rule follows here. I leave a line and then I put the subject. The subject is like the title to the letter, 4 to 5 words. Every word will begin with a capital letter except for prepositions, conjunctions, and articles coming in between the title. For example, leave of absence. L and A will be in capital, O will not be in capital because it's coming in between the title. I will not underline the subject, I will not bold it, I will not write it in all caps, I will not write sub, I will not do anything of this sort because I'm not trying to attract any unwanted attention to my letter or any other thing. Everything that I've written is carefully selected and equally important. इसलिए मैं छोटा लिखूंगी, relevant लिखूंगी, इसलिए आप ये मत सोचिए कि जो कुछ important है वही highlight है, बाकी सब तो आप ध्यान मत दीजिए. तो मैंने लिखा ही क्यों है? How proficient am I in communicating? That raises a big question mark on my capabilities. Yes, so not a mark of a well-developed personality. So I will not do that kind of a mistake on my own part. Okay. The same thing happens in an email. Usually, when we forward an email, we might be careful of removing the text from the text box. Forwarded email, but there is a small prefix that comes FWD colon. In the subject tag also, in the subject dialog box also of the email. So if you are removing forward from the text box, main text box, please remove forward from that part of the email as well. Okay? And otherwise, if you don't want to hide the fact that it is a forwarded email, let it be like that. Don't tamper with it at all. Okay? And even for emails, let us not write in capital or anything. The same rules apply. I leave a line and then I address. Now here something has to be brought about very carefully. In some organizations, dear is not accepted, especially in government organizations in India. They still accept respected. अब अगर वो वही accept करते तो आप respected लिखिए. The way they are used to salutation, that is what is accepted. First name, last name, respected sir, respected doctor sir, whatever. Write it like that. But there are certain rules. If I am using dear, I can use their first name or their last name, and usually it should be dear first name, because if I'm communicating with somebody using dear, automatically the respect is there. This respect is not something that I have to project. It is inherent in my communication. So dear first name, okay? And otherwise I can use Mr. or must, but whenever I'm using Mr. or must, I will have to use their surname. Okay? Suppose I'm writing a letter to Mr. S.K. Pathak. So I can use Dear Mr. Pathak, or dear Mr. S.K. Pathak. Okay, I know his first name Sunil, so I will not say dear Mr. Sunil. That's incorrect. I'll just say dear Sunil. Understood? And for women, we use must these days, not Miss or Mrs. because that is as non-discriminatory in nature as Mr. for gentlemen. It does not comment on their marital status or their age. So we use must, MS. There is no dot after Mr. or must. Okay, not even doctor for that matter. There was a time whenever we used to put a dot कि जिस letter से word शुरू होता है, जिस letter से खत्म होता है, तो ऐसे हम अगर acronyms बनाते हैं तो उसके बाद हम dot लगा देते हैं. But in today's day and age, for ease of communication, because it is all written electronically, we are saving character space, so we're doing away with the dots also. Okay, that's the logic behind it. That is why in the typed format also on a paper, I do not put dots. Also, I like to point out, doctor and engineer are our professional titles. They are not a part of our names. So please do not use in addressing yourself or the others when you're calling your own name. I am Dr. So-and-so. I am so-and-so. Being a PhD or a doctorate in something is my professional accomplishment. Nothing like that. Okay? So let's not say that. But अगर किसी company or organization एक standard format है, वो ही acceptable है, तो आप वो accept कीजिए. But otherwise, MNCs के साथ communication में with your students, they should know that what is acceptable outside the organization, because eventually we are not going to communicate within the organization only. We are going to communicate outside also. So what is acceptable outside should be known to us. Okay, no comma again. अब सर और मैडम तो तभी यूज करना है भैया जब हमें इतना नहीं पता. We've been so casual, careless in knowing as to which person am I addressing. If I reflect my casualness here in the first instance only in addressing that person, I don't think my communication is going to be effective. It's going to fall flat. If I have not taken care to find out from the person who was previously in communication with them, call up the company and find out whom should I address the letter to. They are not going to shoot me for it. Normal information. It's just that I am lazy. So if I am lazy about communicating with them, they will also be lazy in getting my work done. So this is how important it is. But still, if I cannot, through all my efforts, not find out their first name, last name or anything, then I put sir and madam, and they all know. Also, please stress that madam ka ma'am mat bana do. Itna mat save karo apna time. Okay? Let it be madam. We will not use for writing any contraction, for example, don't. We will use do not. The same way with every other communication in writing also. I leave a line in first paragraph. First paragraph, directly I come to the purpose of the letter, which is taken from the subject. Why am I writing this letter? This has to be the, this can be the longer paragraph, wherein why am I writing this letter? It can be 4 to 5 sentences, or maybe even 6 sentences. This is a thing, and usually only for one purpose I write one letter. Even if I have to communicate with the same person in the same organization, I give a gap of 3 or 4 working days in between and write a fresh letter. If there is something in continuation with the same matter, then I give the same reference number, or I let the thread in the email remain the same and give a continuation of the email or the letter under the same reference number to the same person. But otherwise, I do not repeat that reference number or the email thread to that person if I am communicating on a fresh matter. And usually one purpose as title and one purpose, one letter. And I give a gap of 3 to 4 working days in between. Okay? And then why am I writing 3 or 4, 5, 6 sentences? Leave a line, second paragraph. What is it that I require of them? Is there some information that I require, some help I require? What is it? And this can be given as a bulleted list, not 1, 2, 3, 4 numbered, just bulleted. Why? Because it becomes a picture in their mind. 5-6 चीजें थी. अगर sentence में लिखा उनको याद ही नहीं रहेगा कितनी चीजें थी. बहुत कुछ है. And this has to come across as shorter. You cannot ask for the moon. You have to ask for something very less. So how do you convey that? Even though you are asking us a lot of things, you convey that brevity, not asking for much, by breaking it down into small points. It is easier for them to recall, does not make you look as if asking for too much, too demanding, easier for them to comply to also. Okay? Cover it up also. And then I leave a line and I give my subscription. If I have asked for something, then I say thank you. I will not say thanking you. That is incorrect English. Thanking you is incorrect English. Thanking is something that is a continuous process. I cannot use that. It is somewhat like I'm having a car. And since this is not a complete sentence, thank you, I thank you would be a complete sentence. Thank you is a phrase, and you're following the modern block format wherein no punctuation marks comes. So मैं यहाँ पे exclamation mark भी नहीं दे सकती हूँ, comma भी नहीं दे सकती हूँ, and full stop नहीं दे सकती हूँ because it's not a complete sentence. So just thank you. And please do not write, it is very rude to write thank you in anticipation, that you're putting an added pressure on that person, that since I've already thanked you, so you have to do it. No. Let it be up to that person, and that person is polite enough and is good enough, good-hearted enough to do whatever you ask. Leave a line and then you write yours sincerely or faithfully. Okay. Subscription में एक चीज और. If you are the one who supplied some help, then you say with best regards or with warm regards or best regards, without again any punctuation mark towards the end. That you welcome this kind of communication. कभी आपको जरूरत है, then I've helped you. कभी मुझे जरूरत होगी, तो you'll help me. So that is how you convey these messages without spelling it out directly. Okay. Leave a line and then you say yours faithfully or sincerely. Please notice your के बाद apostrophe s नहीं है. This is a common mistake that we make. There is no such word like this. Yours, belongingness, when I want to show belongingness with your, it comes with continuous s after it, no apostrophe. And sincerely to everybody inside the organization or outside the organization. And faithful I am only to my immediate boss. Even if I'm writing an email which has a copy given to my super boss, and I am writing an email to my super boss directly, पर उसकी एक copy मेरे immediate boss को जा रही है, मैं तब भी अपने super boss को yours faithfully नहीं लिखूंगी, because I cannot break the line of hierarchy in an organization. I am faithful to my immediate boss. He has to maintain his faithfulness to the super boss, and he has done that. I cannot bypass my immediate boss and try to reach the super boss when I say these kind of things. So this is what I need to remember. And when I'm writing letters to editor, which is also an official letter, then I can say yours truly, because whatever I've brought about as a public concern is truth, not something which is my own view and opinion. It is something which is a fact of the matter. I leave a line, I sign my name, sometimes the signatures, and most of the times they are illegible. So within brackets, I give my typed name. Bold नहीं होना, कोई title या Mr. Mrs. कुछ नहीं आना. I also want to point out here that we do not use Shri or Srimati for English communication because these are Hindi titles. So please restrict yourself to Mr. or Ms. And then I leave a line and point down the enclosures. The enclosures, if I am sending them out as an email, especially a covering email, so they should be mentioned in the last paragraph just before subscription as to what are the enclosures or attachments along with this email. They should be saved in that format, not document 1, document 2, document 3. If somebody who wants to, suppose in my covering letter I'm sending my resume, my experience certificate, and also my letters of references. So I should mention I'm attaching my resume, experience certificate, and letters of references for your kind consideration or kind reference. Okay. Now then I have to save them also, documents also as resume, experience certificate, and letters of reference. And I have to mention them also, attach them also in the same order with the email as I have mentioned them in the letter. The same thing when I'm sending a hard copy. अगर मैंने letter में जैसे mention किया है, तो मैंने hard copies of that resume, letter, experience certificate, letter of references also have to be placed one by one. I cannot, change the sequence because that is impolite communication. That is all I wanted to bring about. This is just a brief overview quickly. Format I told you, you cannot, it's up to you which format you want to stick to. Why I have followed this modern block format? Because it's easier to adapt it into an email. And we do away with unnecessary characters of punctuation, which is easier in email also. Then punctuation is very important, where it should come and where it should not come at all. Then the date, why it should be written in which manner. Receiver's address is very important. Why are we giving out the receiver's own address? Why? Because my assistant is going to take up the address from there. The pin code should be there. The subject, how it is to be written, it should not be underlined, it should not be in caps. The content should be placed, purpose of the letter, then action required should be shorter, should be bulleted. पर वो purpose के अंदर bullet नहीं होना चाहिए, because that will look that you are telling too much in a single letter. एक अलग letter डालो इसके लिए, अलग letter डालो इसके लिए, ऐसे हो जाएगा. And then Presentation of content also I have discussed how action required and purpose should be placed. Subscription, कब मैंने thank you बोला है, कब मैंने best regards बोला है. And then finally signing off. Signature के पीछे name होना जरूरी है. किसको मैं faithfully लिखूंगी, किसको truly, किसको sincerely लिखूंगी. That is all I wanted to discuss with you in a brief time of 1.5 hours of writing skills. I said pen is always mightier than the sword, so I hope to have brought it about in this session. I open the house or session for any queries, questions, doubts, anything. Anybody from the centers who wants to ask me a question? Anybody from the audience here?
Ma'am, in meeting agendas, he told us like we did not put Mr. or Ms. before the name. So why is it so much? Why should not we put Mr., Doctor, Professor?
See, if it is, I said that it's a single page document. Yes, the agenda of the meeting, it is circulated, displayed on the notice board also. So I will not use up the space so much. So I need to be specific as to which members are attending. कि Mr. ये first name, last name, जिससे कि जिनका first name भी same हो, उनके बीच में भी doubt ना रहे. Sometimes this first name and the last name is also same, so within brackets I point out the department also. So just to do away with using unwanted space, and to show that we are all together at the same level, meeting together to discuss something more than our own personal intentions or accomplishments here. The purpose for which we are meeting is of more importance, and that is with that kind of an intention we should meet. I do away with unnecessary or superfluous titles. But I am saying again, in government organizations, anybody can take offense to anything. Yes, so if there is a standard format that is followed in government organizations, please stick to it, because we do not want to offend any inflated egos there. Because again, that the purpose of meeting will fall flat. But this happens in the corporate circle. So this should be shared with your students also, that if you're meeting together as members, we are all together at the same level. Not that somebody is higher up and somebody is lower. The chair is also included in government organization meetings only, not in corporate meetings sometimes. Yes, tell me.
In government offices, the chair is always the principal or the head of the institute.
Yes. That is right.
That's why.
Yes. I hope I have clarified your doubt, Pramod. Huh? Yes. Okay. Anybody else from the centers? Any question? Any doubts?
If there are no doubts, we.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I must say that it is really a very difficult task to cover a topic like writing skills in 1.5 hours. And when we talk about communication, especially in oral communication and written communication, when we are making use of a language, and we have covered all the, both the topics up to now. I was requesting Madam Suditi that we should be able to give them a first-hand experience or make them little awareness about the emphasis to be given to various things. For example, vocabulary is very important. When we use a language, vocabulary is very important. When we use a language, grammar is very important. Tomorrow you will have more in-depth knowledge, understanding about these two things also. In the grammar, there are so many things. We were discussing that what should be covered in this topic. Then we thought that if you are conversant with the tenses, if your tenses are all right in any language, almost 70 to 80% of your grammar is taken care of. If you are, let us say, and it has to be done repeatedly. Not that once I have done grammar up to 8th standard or 7th standard, I don't have to do that grammar again. Today itself, by small exercises, we realize that we often tend to do mistakes. We have doubts here and there. So that was the purpose that we did those exercises, and we understand the importance of tenses in grammar. And other than the tenses, we laid emphasis on two more things. One is prepositions, the other is punctuation marks. There are so many other things also in grammar which are very, very important. I am not undermining the importance of other things also in the grammar. But then tenses, punctuation, and prepositions. In English language, if you are learning or making use of a language which is foreign to you, foreign language, then we must brush up our understanding, our knowledge about these three things. And almost 90-95% mistakes will be taken care of if your tenses are all right, if your prepositions are all right, your punctuation marks are all right. I can assure you of that much. And again, thank you very much, ma'am. You have also included the in the offices, in the business houses also. We have to write down the agenda of the meeting. We have to also have to write down the minutes of the meeting. We have to write the official correspondence, the written communication. All of you are not creative writers. All of us are not creative writers, I would say. That we have to write the short stories and novels. But then in the written communication, we have to write the letters. We have to write the minutes of the meetings or the agendas and other things also. So I requested her, and she has covered these aspects also very beautifully. I would now request one of the members from my studio here to come over here and express vote of thanks to Madam Suditi Jindal before we part for the tea break. Okay. This is part of the exercises. Communication skills. That we stand here for 2 minutes and then.
This is Suman Yadav from the IT Jhansi. Thank you, madam. It was really a very vibrant session. And though we people, when we converse, we are not able to understand what the kind of calls that we are making, but we could really estimate all those things when you were giving the exercises. I mean, it was very enlightening, and as she says very clearly, it all comes with practice. So we need continuous practice for all the grammatical parts that you have said. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very, very like.